It is Friday. It's about 3:30. That's why you can see a little bit of light out there. Still not a lot. Street lights are already on. But I thought I would follow up this morning's intro with another Disney video. Why not get started, right? So, what I want to talk about now is how long to spend in each park. Now, there are a lot of questions that I see people asking in different Facebook groups, forums, about how long do I need here? How long do I need there? And obviously it is going to be a very personal thing as far as what you enjoy, what you're interested in. But I thought I would give my opinions on how much time you need in each park to really adequately see the park. So, for that, first off, let's break down. There are 4 main parks at Disney World. You've got the Magic Kingdom, which is what most people think of when they think of Disney World. You have Epcot, you have Hollywood Studios, and you have Animal Kingdom. You've also got 2 water parks. You also have Disney Springs, which is the restaurant and shopping and music stages and all of that kind of stuff. You've also got the boardwalk, which is kind of a nightlife area outside of a couple of the hotels. So you have a lot going on. You've also got, obviously, the dozen plus resorts themselves, each which has various restaurants and nightlife and pools and bars and who knows what else. So, how long, when you start booking your days, how many days do you want to book to each area? Now, when my wife and I go, we're going from the UK. I know I don't sound like it, but that is where we live. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Got a phone call in the middle of my sentence. So, how long for each resort? Or each park, rather? My wife and I go for 2 weeks, since we're going from the UK. Obviously, if you're going for less time, you're going to be a lot more pressed. But I'm just going to talk about, first off, how long I think it will take to go through each park, and then talk about how long I actually want to spend in each park. So, first off, you've got the Magic Kingdom. Within the Magic Kingdom, you have Fantasyland, Adventureland, Frontierland, Tomorrowland, and you also have Liberty Square. So you've got a lot of distinct areas, plus Main Street. You've got a lot going on in that park. I think, personally, you need a bare minimum of 2 days in the Magic Kingdom. I don't think you could make a good show of going through that park in less than 2 days. Especially not if you're not trying to kill yourself doing it. I would probably say, depending on the ages involved in your group, you're going to want to spend, probably divide it up. Do 1 day where you kind of focus on Adventureland and Frontierland, the other day where you focus on Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, mix in a bit of Main Street in there, and if you're going through Adventureland and Frontierland, you're going to pass through Liberty Square. You don't really get, I don't think there are actually any rides in Liberty Square, but there are a couple of attractions that are really worth seeing. Great Moments in History is the Muppet History Show that plays at certain intervals through the day in Liberty Square. So things like that. You do also have the Hall of Presidents, which, depending on the group, may or may not interest you in Liberty Square. So if you spend the first day on one half of Magic Kingdom, and a day on the other half of Magic Kingdom, you can cover it fairly well in 2 days. That's of course saying that you're going in there for specific attractions and you're not wanting to do some of the other peripheral stuff, which I'll come back to that. Moving on from there then, Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is an odd one to me because personally it's not my favorite park. It's very spread out, so there is a lot of walking for not a lot of events. I guess you could say rides, attractions, whatever. But if you're wanting to take your time and stroll through it and go on the safari and see the animals and all that kind of stuff, you're probably going to want to have 2 days. You could maybe do it in a day and a half, depending on how you're doing your fast passes for Avatar. Now, Avatar right now is a huge thing. The queue times for it can be upwards of 4 hours for flights of passage, and they can be 2 or 3 hours for the Navi River journey. Now, you can't fast pass both of them on the same day. You can only fast pass one or the other. So you're either going to get there for rope drop and immediately dash to Navi River journey, and then have your fast pass for flight of passage, or vice versa. Or you're going to fast pass one on one day and one on the other day, depending on how you're scheduling it. But I would say you could comfortably do Animal Kingdom in a day and a half to 2 days. Now, from there then, we move to Epcot. Epcot, to me, is really not a cohesive park. And that comes back to the very original idea of Epcot, where they actually took two completely different thoughts and smashed them together into one park. So you have kind of the future world part of the park, and then you have the World Showcase part. You're going to want at least a day in Epcot. Depending on how much you want to tour around the World Showcase, maybe a day and a half. If you're wanting to do the drinking around the world type thing in Epcot, if you've got mainly adults in your group, definitely devote the better part of a day to that. Just because, one, it's going to take you a while to walk around and drink everywhere, and two, once you've been around drinking everywhere, you're not going to want to do much else. So, day and a half for Epcot. Now, I've mentioned a couple half days here already. What do you do with your other half a day? Well, I haven't mentioned Hollywood Studios yet. And I will say, at this time, I think Hollywood Studios can be done in half a day. Now, I'm specifying at this time. Why? Because there's a lot of construction going on at Hollywood Studios. There are currently very few rides or attractions at Hollywood Studios. But, and this is a huge but, they're in the process of building Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. Two complete new lands within Hollywood Studios. Now, as soon as those are built, Hollywood Studios is going to be up to a day, maybe even a 2-day park. But until that time, it's only a half a day park. You've got Star Tours, you've got Toy Story Mania, you've got Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, you have some really nice shows. You've got the Star Wars show that's every other hour, I believe. You have some fun stuff, just not a lot of it. So Hollywood Studios, half a day. I would also say you could do either one of the water parks in half a day. Now, I do know that some people like to take a whole day, do the water parks, maybe even call that a rest day, take it easy, go slow, and I can see that. If you've got the time to do it, then yeah, do that. Make it a rest day, do the water park nice and slow, and take your time with it. But if you're just wanting to see it and you are pressed for time, you could get around one of the water parks in half a day. So what are we looking at there? Apologies, I am getting parked while I'm talking. Shut up, car. So you're looking at 2 days minimum Magic Kingdom, 2 days Animal Kingdom, half a day for Hollywood Studios, half a day for the water parks. I'd say give Disney Springs a day of its own. Call it a rest day if you want, but there's so much going on there between the shopping and the restaurants and the stages at night that you're going to want to have at least a day. And you might not take all of that at once. You might do half a day in the park somewhere, half a day at Disney Springs, and then do another half a day at a different park and another half a day at Disney Springs. But in your overall time frame, I would say devote a day to Disney Springs. It's well worth it. So what are we up to then? 2, 4, 5. You're up to about a week there already. Now, I said me and my wife were going for 2 weeks. With that, you're going to have time to revisit some things that you missed. You're going to have time to have a proper rest day. A day where you just sit by the pool and read a book and don't go into the parks. You're also going to have time for some of the more peripheral elements. By that I mean things like Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, or maybe some of the tours, the behind the stage, the keys to the kingdom. And I'm going to talk about those more in depth later on, so I won't go into them too much now, also because I am at my location. But there you are. That's my feelings on the minimum amount of time you want in each park. I personally would not recommend going to Disney World for less than 7 days, just because of how much there is to see there. I think a lot of people don't realize how big the place is. And if you've not gone before, if you learn anything from anything I'm saying, just remember, the place is huge. You're going to do a lot of walking. I'm a big guy. I don't normally walk much, but I got into the parks, and the last time we were there for 2 weeks, I averaged over 9 miles a day. The thing is, you don't actually even notice it that much when you're there. You're so distracted that you don't realize you've walked 9 miles until you get back to the hotel room and sit down and your legs turn to jelly. But if you take nothing else away from this series, bear in mind that Disney World is huge. Like, subscribe. I'll be back next week with some more videos. Check out the D&D stuff through the rest of the week if you're into it. If not, I'll see you on Friday.